Welcome back. So today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what it means to live in the moment. You know, we read in the Bible where it says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I believe a lot of being still is about learning to live in the moment. You know, what I've found in my own life is my mind is constantly occupied with thoughts about what needs to happen from an hour from now, or maybe from a day from now, or maybe in the next week, or maybe even in the next year. We're constantly trying to work things out, constantly trying to figure this out ourselves, which is really impossible. Or we are living in the past, trying to fix the past. Maybe something happened yesterday which caused us to worry about what needs to happen today. And we always find ourselves in this place of worry, this place of anxiousness, which is never healthy for us. We can't really think clearly in a place of anxiousness and fear. Therefore, we need to learn to live in the moment. We need to live in what is God saying to us right now. Because this moment actually is a holy moment. I was thinking back in my gap year in 2013, how significant it was and how it has shaped and formed me into the person that I am today. Even if I bring all of those people together again in the same location, it will not be the same again. Because every person is in a different season in their life. Every person has grown and has been shaped through life. And what they have to give in that moment would look different and be different. And what I realized is that that moment was actually a holy moment, because you'll never have that moment again. And I believe that about every day, that every moment living in the now, living in that what God is saying to us right now is actually holy. Like we discovered in the second session, that man shall not live by bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Jesus is saying that the words that I speak to you is like food to your spirit. It's like food to your soul. It's actually there to sustain you. And when we begin to see it through that lens, we actually begin to appreciate every moment. We begin to appreciate every little thing around us. Like, for example, this beautiful stone. Look at all those beautiful patterns in it. Look at how beautiful the stone is. And even through creation and through that what God has made, there is something to learn. God can speak to us even through creation. And if we are constantly occupied with what needs to happen from an hour from now, or what needs to happen tomorrow, and we grow anxious and fearful about these things, we're going to miss what God is saying in the moment. And those are actually the things that Jesus said is there to sustain you. Man shall not live by bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And I believe this to be true. And I think this is something we need to take way more seriously, because it's in this moment, in the word that He is giving, in that what He is revealing to you today, that God is known. And it's when we know God that the fear and the anxiousness and the hopelessness is cast out of our lives. It's perfect love that drives out fear. And God, through Scripture, has revealed Himself as love towards us. If we want to know perfect love, we need to know God. Because you won't find any other perfect love other than in God. And if you want to get rid of fear, well, according to 1 John, it's only perfect love that can drive that out. It's only perfect love that will be the real solution to all the worry and anxiousness and fear in our life. Not all sorts of other coping mechanisms, because coping mechanisms fall short, they have a limit. And we need to know God. We need to discover God. We need to begin to seek God. And a lot about living in the moment is just actually becoming still and saying, you know what? I get more done in God's presence than outside of God's presence. Why? Because even according to Scripture, it says that in God's presence is fullness of joy. In other words, in God's presence, there's fullness. Fullness of everything that we need. His presence is enough. When we begin to believe that, we will actually make time for that. We will actually prioritize that in our life and actually seek opportunities to just soak in His presence. Just to become still and say, God, what are you saying right now? What are you revealing to me right now? Because that is enough for today. I don't need to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll reveal something fresh and something new that will sustain me for tomorrow. Then I can learn to live in the moment and learn to discover what that is that God is saying to me right now, which becomes my vision for today. And this vision that I'm cultivating today carries me through to tomorrow. And so it helps me to navigate through life. And then when I look back on my life, when I look back in the year, I'm like, I can stand amazed at God's faithfulness towards me. How God has always been there for me, that He has never left me alone to fight my own battles, but He was actually fighting the battles for me. But if I don't live in the moment, it will always feel like you are alone. It will always feel like you have to fight your own battles and that you need to figure this out yourself. But guess what? You don't have to, because you have a God that loves you. You have a God that cares about you, and that's actually there for you. You need to begin to believe that. All right, so I hope that this encourages you and blesses you, knowing that God's presence is present now. And that presence that is present is all you need. The Apostle Paul said this. He said this about God's grace. He said, God's grace is sufficient for me. God's grace is enough for me. And it is true for us as well. God's grace is enough for you today. In God's presence, there's no 50% or 30%. There's no halfness. It's fullness. God is 100% committed to you. And when I begin to soak in His presence and become aware of the perspective that He wants me to have, that is when I begin to know God and actually see how His world, His kingdom is invading my world. And I can begin to recognize the solutions that He is giving to me at hand. So I hope this helps you to just look at your circumstances differently. And I hope that this empowers you to believe that all things is possible with God. Because Christianity is not about God. It is with God. It always has been. And God's inviting you today to just come and sit with Him, and become aware of Him, and become still